So, folks, I'm here with Stephen Bracco. He is a phenomenal playwright. He's a friend. He's a really nice guy. And the reason I'm interviewing you, Stephen, is because as a playwright, you sort of made, during this COVID nightmare thing, an adjustment to your work. And I thought you were the first person to do it. You did it right away. You shifted from stage plays to audio plays with Doberman Pinscher. Tell us about what made you do that, and tell us a little bit about your audio play.
Well, once this shutdown happened, I had two thoughts. One was I really had to feed the creative beast. I really had to be doing something creatively, writing in some way. Otherwise, I would, implode. And I also wanted to help out actors. I wanted to give them a little bit, a little bit of paying work if I could. That were the two thoughts that I had. So I was looking at my work and I thought of audio plays, since everyone was going to be home. And Doberman Pinscher was kind of half written anyway. It wasn't a completely finished play. It wasn't polished at all. So it wasn't that difficult to transition it to an audio play. And it was a lot of fun. The first challenge, really, which I conveyed to the two actors that I hired, which was Alyssa Simon, who I've worked with before, and Peter Coleman. Peter is a professional voiceover artist, so his audio is crystal clear. But for me, the first challenge was, is this actually going to work? 3 people, and I was one of I acted in it as well.
Well, you've acted before, right?
Yes.
Yeah.
And
okay.
I'm seeing what a terrible voiceover actor I am. Just, if you don't practice it and work at it, you can't do it. So discovering that, it's self-discovery. But I wanted to see if it could actually work. 3 people recording their lines separately, and then me stitching it all together.
Well, I was going to ask you about that. That's a task.
That's how it worked, to see if we could create the illusion that these people were in the same room together. And it worked. I was very surprised. And what I found worked the best was the background sound, whatever room they were in, if it was a classroom or a basement, just adding this ambient sound to suggest this world. And that is really what helped to create the illusion that these people were together. So I found it was a little bit clunky, but it works, I think.
Well, I think it's a great exercise, and it also adds a whole new level of technology to it. I mean, we're forced, right, with everything happening, to kind of embrace technology and Zoom and things like that. You wrote it, you directed it, you put it together, you edited it, and you're doing it in segments. So tell me about that process.
Yes, well, before we started, or before each episode, we have a conference call and we do a read through, and I provide, some direction, and then the actors, do their lines. We found, talking about technology, we found the best way to do the lines was with a blanket over your head to avoid echo.
Wow, that's great. Okay, I didn't know that. That's an interesting twist.
It's a secret.
Not anymore.
No, yeah. And, the actors, I asked the actors to give me 3 readings of each line. So, Peter and Alyssa would just read down their lines 3 different times, and so I would pick them according to how it would go, how I thought it should be going. And, I would have to adjust the volume, because there's Peter with his professional equipment, and then there's me on my iPhone, popping my P's. So it was a variations in quality, but that's part of the fun for me. It was not about, buying expensive equipment and getting smoother. It was about, like I said, being creative and getting these actors some work and keeping their creative beast, their creativity fresh. So it's clunky, but for me that was half the fun, half the joke, the sound effects and the that kind of thing. So.
Well, I mean, I think a lot of things are clunky right now. Like, for instance, Zoom interviews and things like that. We're learning. We're all learning. But the key thing, the thing that impresses me is that you went ahead, you forged forward, you kept writing, you kept tweaking. You're now acting and directing this audio play, and you're just doing it. And for an artist, I think that's one of the key things, right? Just to do it, just to keep working, to keep creating. I mean, that it must be time consuming, but that's something that I suppose you want. Tell me about that. How do you feel about all this? I mean, you seem positive.
Yeah, the episode 2, as the episodes go on, the sound effects get more complicated, and it takes days and days to really, even this simple audio, just getting the right sound effects and the right timing. So it is time consuming, but it's very rewarding because you spend a day doing the work and you feel really fulfilled. I felt very fulfilled, and it helped justify my watching, 2 film noir movies after that. So there's that.
The 4 parts, you have 2 of them already up on Vimeo. But as I'm listening to you talk, I'm thinking this is the kind of project that you can always go back to, do a little bit of re-editing, if you like, and even create, a brand new podcast over this kind of project and put it in a different world, Have you thought about that? Have you thought about what happens once you've done the next 2 parts?
Yeah, well, it's on my Facebook page and Vimeo. I did put episode 1 on SoundCloud, and I probably will put all of them, on some service. I got scared because when I was on SoundCloud, I got an email from I guess it was spam, but it was like a porn star, following me, offering to be a friend. So I thought, that's not really so I decided to keep it simple for now. But I think I should go on to a podcast service, where that can be, especially if I do another one, and I am looking at doing more. Yeah.
Tell us about the story a little bit. Give us a sense of what the play is about, and without giving too much away, so that people will come and listen.
Sure. Well, it is a challenge for me because it is a dark comedy, and it's kind of based on a novel I wrote back in the 90s, and then I wanted to turn it into a play, and it goes back to my years as an English language instructor. And what I learned and what they teach you there in ESL, English as a Second Language, is that you have to come up with interesting ways to get your students to retain the second language. It's called second language acquisition. So it could be with songs or with games or anything creative and crazy, just as long as it gets in the student's brain, the language. And so I came up with this idea of this teacher who's Dr. Hans Hansverse. He's German and comes from a circus family. And he comes up with this idea of temporarily stopping people's heart. They're temporarily dead. And he plays the language in their ears, kind of a joke on the old subliminal learning thing. Yes. Brings them back to life, and magically they retain the language. It works.
I love it.
So things go from bad to worse after that. He enlists someone to help him, and things just go worse and worse and worse for that, towards their goal of this whole.
I was going to say, that's very creative.
Well, it was a challenge. Once I got episode 1 together, before I posted it, I thought, is this really the best time to have this kind of play? And I thought about it, and I realized there is not just one reaction to this situation that the entire world is in. It's a whole fustercluck of reactions to this. And it's okay. I told myself, this is all right. It's okay. So it was a challenge. And I'm seeing lots of other playwrights asking, do you guys think about audio plays? And I certainly encourage playwrights to work on their plays and adapt them. So for that very reason, because what else can you do, in lots of ways?
Exactly. I mean, I think staying busy and finding outlets is the trick here. Now, tell us about what do you think the future holds? I mean, I'm going to put a crystal ball in front of you and you just wing it, because I don't think anybody knows, but
For me, it's really hard to say. I'm enjoying the audio editing, and I've always enjoyed video editing, as an amateur. But I have no idea as far as live theater, and it's really difficult to say, financial reasons and just when that would be. Next year at this time, hopefully we'll be in a completely different place.
I hope so.
A crystal ball, I really have no idea. And that's the thing about this. No one knows. No one can see the entire landscape.
I totally agree. Well, listen, I'm always impressed by your work. And why don't you tell the folks out there what you do for a living too? You do have a day job in case they need an editor, right?
Sure. Well, I'm a proofreader, proofreader, copy editor, and I'm finding myself proofreading people's posts on Facebook, which which doesn't always go over too well, considering their politics. But some of the folks, but proofreading, waiting on that and seeing, where that will be, online or back out in the real world. It's very unknown right now.
Well, listen, folks, I'm just going to say to the folks out there, if you need a proofreader, this is the man. So I'll throw some of that your way, but not to take away from your writing as a playwright, because I think that's exceptional work.
Oh, sure. I love proofreading too. It's a great way to criticize people, with a red pen in your hand too.
Stephen, I am very much looking forward to sharing these two parts. They will be shared on this post, and they'll be shared on LocalTheatreNY.tv. And and I wish you the best, man. Love working with you. I think you're a great guy and a great writer.
Thanks, Roger. Thanks.
No, my pleasure. And we will be some point back on the stage, all of us. But for now, Doberman Pinscher by Stephen Bracco. Parts 1 and 2 are available. I'm going to put the links there, and as soon as the next 2 parts come, I'm going to share those too. And again, I thank you.
Thank you, Roger. Thanks a lot, and I enjoy your posts, and I'm very jealous of your food and your exquisite dining experiences. So, that's.
I'm gaining weight. I actually set up a gym on in the attic now, and I've started working out again because I feel like I'm going to come out of here, weighing 600 pounds, on a stretcher, and carried to the theater and a piano truck. So I got to make sure I stop the eating. But thank you very much. I wish I could share it with you, the food.
Great.
Soon.
Yeah, someday soon. Oh, sure, definitely. Yeah.
Soon. Take care, Stephen. Very nice seeing you.
You too.